So you've wrecked your rig. Well, so did I. What now? Let's talk about that. All right, if you saw the thumbnail, you know what's going on today. I done wrecked my rig. It was horrible. Here's what happened. We were heading over to our kids' house in Pennsylvania. We were just coming around the corner to go into a back drive to park in behind their house. We were gonna boondock there for about a week. As I was turning, I didn't realize that I was swinging wide. I hit a low-hanging branch, didn't even feel it. It caught the ladder and ripped the back panel off my rig. And this is one piece that went flying off of my 2022 Grand Design Reflection RLTS. What interests me, and this is kind of beside the point, is it doesn't look like anything except for wood and styrofoam. I thought this was supposed to be aluminum. I don't know. Let's not talk about that right now. So the things I do want to talk about today are not to dwell too much on the whole situation, because what are you going to do? I mean, really. It happened just a few days ago, so it's still very fresh, very raw, and very hurtful in my heart and in my soul and in my mind. But I want to talk through it with you, and I want to try to break it down into a couple parts. One, what exactly happened? Two, how you prevent that from happening. Three, what do you do right away when something like this does happen? Four, what do you do after the right away, just subsequent to when something like this happens? And five, what do you do so far as handling this with your insurance and getting repairs and things like that? And six, perhaps a little discussion of coping mechanisms. Okay, now if you've been driving a rig a long time, you know exactly what I did wrong. I didn't watch how my rear swing, and I wasn't watching up. Usually when you look down, and I didn't look up. It's a classic mistake. Honestly, I see it all the time. Whenever you hear about RVs getting wrecked, it's typically from tail swing, and it's typically from something above, because we tend to look down. So maybe the first thing we learn from this, look up. Most people understand what tail swing is, but let's talk about it really quick. Okay, so let's just look at this children's train as an example, since I don't have anything else to show you as an example. Well, I mean, I guess I could show you an actual trailer, but then, anyway. Now, in the case of this particular trailer, the wheel is pretty much towards the end, but there's still some hanging out back there. So when this thing turns, whatever behind that wheel is going to come out beyond the wheel to a distance that you may not anticipate. That is called tail swing. Now, in the case of most cars, the wheel is way in the back. So there's less, right? It's right here. So less comes out. When you're in a trailer like the one I drive, or probably you drive, the wheel's probably almost a third up or almost halfway up the rig, and there's a lot of rig to come swinging out at the access point when you make a turn. That's what gets you. So just before entering into this corner, Kim said, "Hey, do you need me to jump out and help you around this corner?" I'm like, "No, I got it." Famous last words. So don't forget, your partner's there for a reason. They're another pair of eyes. They can get out and look back there and see what's going on, while you're up here driving and stuff. Partners, check it out. Ow. Okay, so thing number two, you've wrecked your rig. It just happened. What do you do? Well, now, I should say, first of all, full disclosure, I'm not an expert on accident prevention, accident accountability, insurance, highway rules, none of those things. I'm just giving you the experience that I have, and hopefully you can learn from it. As soon as I realized what I had done, I immediately collapsed in a hump. I mean, almost literally. I was so shocked, I just went, ugh. And that's fine, I suppose, for me, because we were away from any danger. We were away from traffic. We were away from people. No one was injured. Nothing really catastrophic happened. No damage was done other than to my own rig. It was completely my fault. I didn't have to run after anybody for liability. So in my case, just collapsing into a heap and sobbing internally and wishing I could take those 5 seconds ago back was probably not a bad way to respond. However, in your case, you may not be so fortunate in the situation. If you are on the freeway, do everything you can do to get out of harm's way. That should be your first thing, get out of harm's way. Second, if there are people injured or worse, attend to that. Property is always second to personal safety. So get yourself to safety and get anybody that's been hurt or injured to medical assistance. That should be your #1 priority, absolutely, of course. Once you get the immediate assessment out of the way, you're not in the way of harm, no one's injured, no one's damaged, you probably should see what you can do now since you're in your home and you need it to be mobile and a home, what you can do to piece that back together. In some cases, you simply can't do that. You got to call a tow truck and you got to get towed somewhere. In our case, the damage, I thought it would be simple enough to push that piece back in. We screwed some hooks into the supporting wood that was in the roof. It seemed very secure. I used 2 of those and 2 ratchet straps. We pulled that piece back in. Oh, by the way, when I say we, 2 of the most amazing people came to my rescue that day, John and Jason. And John and Jason, if you hear this, my gosh, you are the best kind of people, and it was so great to have you there, and it was made such a horrible day so much better. Thank you very much again for all your assistance. So anyway, John and Jason helped me pull this thing back together, strap it as best we could to make it like a cohesive, movable unit. Then, obviously, to prevent weather damage, we put some tarps over it, screwed those tarps right into the trailer, and then taped them all around with Gorilla Tape as best we could. And at this point, I'm not an expert on structural damage and when something's safe on the highway. I don't know what your highway patrol would say in your area about whether this is structurally safe, but I felt we had it tacked down enough that we could drive it at reasonable speeds on the freeway. And in fact, we got here to this campground about 40 miles away from where the incident happened, and everything's fine. I'm okay driving it the way it is. How you determine if you're okay driving it the way it is, and how you know it's okay to drive after you've jury-rigged it back together, I would say is entirely up to you. If I can find a resource that you can look at, I'll put it in the notes. But honestly, I think it's a judgment call. Okay, now I have to tell you about one more really important thing that will alleviate so much headache in your life if you get in an accident of this sort. Make sure that your affairs are in order. That is, insurance. I'm not going to go into a big diatribe about insurance. You obviously need insurance. You should have your rig insured, and you should check with your insurance agent now to make sure you have sufficient coverage. And the reason I bring all this up is, of course, my rig is insured, and of course I had sufficient coverage, and of course I'd check that when I bought my rig. But as the time happened, all I can think in my mind was, am I covered? I did insure the rig, right? I mean, I have insurance, right? Oh crap, did I even insure this rig? Is that enough? Does it insure against like stupid crap? I couldn't think straight. So it's really important, I think, that you have that sort of thing straight in your mind before you ever go down the road, so you know exactly what you need to do when this happens, and you're not freaking out because you're not sure if you even have insurance. Well, I do have insurance, and so now it's time to call my insurance agent. So, by the way, this is not in any way an endorsement. I'm in no way endorsed by any insurance company or really any sponsor or any product, and that's less likely to happen now that I wrecked my rig. But hey, if you're a sponsor and you're interested, yeah, we're here. So the next step, of course, was calling my insurance. Now, I had been stressing about this the whole time, ever since we got in the wreck to the moment I called. This is the primary thing I was thinking about, except the other thing, and I'll tell you about in a minute. So as soon as we got in the car, I said, let's call the insurance on the road because I just need that peace of mind. So I should tell you right now, the insurer I've had since almost exclusively since the very first time I drove a car at 15 and a half has been USAA. USAA is an insurance provider for servicemen and their families. Anyway, USAA I've always thought were great. They've always had reasonable premiums. They always have responded great to my sundry and myriad claims I've had to submit over the years, and this was really no exception. I called them up. They were very friendly. She said, okay, first of all, we got you covered. Don't worry. Now, that's fine. I'm still going to worry until I get that check in hand, because you just never know how this is all going to shake down, and it still hasn't shook down. But they said, you're fine. Send us pictures, relax, take a breath. Everything's going to be okay. We got you covered. So that right there made me feel a lot better and would help you a lot, I think, if you just don't put that off. Of course, call your insurance right away. This is a good advice on any incident where you're insured in a car or a fire or a house or whatever. Of course, you're going to want to do that. Now that Kim and I had determined that we were insured, we're in a place at the campground now where we can take a breath, think about what had happened, think about what to do. We had some decisions to make because we're in Pennsylvania. We have a home in Texas, however, that's not where we had planned on going. We had planned on going on an extended trip up north to Canada and back down to Michigan and maybe do this and that and then return back to our home in Texas as it got colder. Well, we simply can't do that in the rig the way it is. Old Patchy is not going to make that trip, and I wouldn't feel safe in it, and it would be insane to try. So, of course, we have to just change our plans and cancel that trip. And that's a great part of the RV life that you have to learn right away is you have to be flexible. I mean, you have to be able to roll with punches, and you have to have that flexibility. You can't get something so ingrained in your head that you can't get it out, because you are going to come up against this stuff. So anyway, Kim and I had to do a couple quick things to investigate. One, did it make any sense to try and get the rig fixed in this area, Pennsylvania? Or maybe we should take the 8-hour drive over to Elkhart where they make the rig. Or maybe we should go to Texas where we live and live there while their rigs are being fixed. Now, if you know about the industry right now, getting rigs fixed is a hassle. There's huge lines in most cases. First, I called Grand Design in Indiana, and the customer service rep said, you don't want to come here. We really only service people here when they can't be serviced by the local representatives. Now, that was only one representative I've talked to. I don't know if that's Grand Design's official stance, but it made sense to me. And anyway, if I'd gone to Indiana, I'd still have the issue of where am I going to stay? I don't know if insurance is going to pay for a hotel. I don't want to be in a hotel. I don't want to have to transpire my whole life. So I called Texas, where our home is, and talked to a person there. They made an appointment with us in 2 weeks. So here's the plan. We are currently in Pennsylvania. I'm going to put Kim on a plane in Washington, D.C. and send her home to McAllen, Texas, where she can live there in comfort for the next week while I fast track it with the rig. It's the 30-hour drive, and I still have to work 8 hours a day, but the way I'm thinking I'm going to do it is wake up early, work for 4 hours, drive for 3 hours, stop somewhere, work for 4 hours or whatever, go to sleep, wake up, repeat for about 7 to 10 days until I get home to McAllen, Texas. By the way, I'm going to film that and you can watch it. Maybe it'll be fun. I'm thinking actually of trying to stop exclusively at Cracker Barrels. Like that would be like 7 or 8 Cracker Barrels. It can be fun. Let's try. So a few days later now from the incident, we sort of have a plan. We sorted some things out. We've made the rig transportable. We've got a plan to whom we're going to go to. We've contacted our insurance. We feel comfortable in that plan. And it's something to proceed with, and that gives us considerable comfort, if I'm honest. But we're still right in the middle of this, aren't we? I haven't cleared insurance yet. I haven't got the rig home. I haven't had the guys look at it yet. Over the phone, he said, it's certainly going to need a new end cap. It may probably need a new roof. It could possibly need another sidewall. And he said that's going to cost anywhere between 15 and 20K. Now, I know nothing about any of that stuff. And the fact is, to my mind, if you have to take off the back cap and the roof and the side and replace it, I mean, is that really just 15 to 20K? It's got to be more than that. But anyway, and also, that's major surgery. I mean, to look at the hole in my roof, I would have never thought that sort of stuff was necessary. Clearly, the back cap needs to be replaced, but the roof? I mean, this came from the wall. And a little strip about that long came off of the roof. So they have to replace the whole roof. I'm just a simple boy from Las Vegas, but that doesn't sound right. But I guess I'll find out. We're still in the thick of it, and this may be a good time to talk about the very last thing. coping. So if you're anything like Kim and me, your rig is in many ways your home. We live in it a large part of the year, and it has become a second home to us. It's where I work, it's where we live, it's where Kim does all her crafts, it's where Kim does a lot of her business. It's a place of respite and peace. It's our place, and I just ripped a hole in it. So that did not bode well with me at all. I think if it was just me, and I'm thinking a lot of husbands may feel this way, you probably wouldn't care so much. You'd be, crap, I messed up my rig. Oh well, I'll learn from that. But when your significant other is involved and their feelings, you are immediately affected, like, what have I done to my family? And how will I make this better for my family? And that ate away at me for days, and still it continues to eat away at me. Kim has assured me that she still loves me, and that she's just glad it wasn't her, and that, you know, we'll get through this like we always do. And she's right, we always get through stuff like this. We've never actually wrecked your rig before, but, you know, we'll get through it. And I guess I just put out to you, never forget that. The first thing you should be thinking about is how is the safety of your family and how you're going to fix things. And then when you have a second, take care of yourself. Don't beat yourself up. This was utterly and completely my fault, and I will have a hard time living with that, and it still causes me grief, and it'll probably always cause me grief, but I do tell myself, somebody put it very eloquently on Facebook. They responded to our accident and said, you know what, if you can fix it with money, don't worry about it. And that's a pretty good saying. No one was hurt, no one was killed, there was no, I mean, apparently we didn't total a rig. Maybe we did, I don't know. So if we totaled a rig, we'll total it, buy another rig, or stop RVing. It's not the end of the world. It's just stuff. Hey, did I stress you out a little bit with all this talk about accidents and insurance and crap? Take a second to relax with this. It's Pennsylvania. It's generally very quiet here, and we like it. Okay, so final thoughts on the issue. Hey, this is just stuff, right? It's a thing. We have this stuff so we can go out and enjoy more life and places and family. That's the only reason that stuff exists. You can replace that stuff. Make sure you get insurance to replace that stuff. And then you can go on with more life. You didn't lose anything but stuff. Just remember that. Hey, travel on, travel safe, travel on.